Britain's political spotlight returned to Westminster as King Charles III officially reopened Parliament during the historic state opening ceremony in London, an event that blended royal tradition with major political significance. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch joined senior lawmakers and royal officials for the ceremony at the House of Lords, where the King delivered the government's agenda for the new parliamentary session. The event began with centuries-old tradition on display across Westminster. Royal guards lined the streets, ceremonial processions moved through Parliament, and King Charles III arrived to formally address both houses of Parliament. During the speech, the King outlined the government's plans for the months ahead, focusing heavily on economic recovery, national security, immigration, housing, and Britain's role in international affairs. One of the biggest messages from the speech was the government's push to revive the British economy. The administration said it wants to, quote, get Britain working again by encouraging investments, supporting businesses, and creating more employment opportunities across the country. Government officials say many families are still dealing with the effects of rising living costs and economic uncertainty, and the new agenda is aimed at restoring confidence and boosting long-term growth. National security was another major focus of the address. The government pledged to strengthen defense readiness, improve energy security, and continue working closely with NATO allies amid growing global tensions. The speech also reaffirmed Britain's support for Ukraine in its ongoing war with Russia. Officials stated that military and diplomatic support for Ukraine remains a key part of the UK's foreign policy strategy. Immigration and border security were also highlighted as priorities for the new parliamentary session. The government announced plans for legislation aimed at tightening border enforcement while also addressing pressures on public services and local communities. Housing reform featured prominently as well, with ministers promising measures to increase housing development and tackle affordability concerns facing many people across the United Kingdom. Environmental and energy initiatives were also included in the government's plans, with proposals focused on strengthening energy resilience and supporting cleaner technologies. But despite the ceremonial atmosphere surrounding the event, the reopening of Parliament also took place against a backdrop of political pressure for Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The speech comes amid reports of growing criticism following recent local election setbacks, with political opponents questioning whether the government is moving fast enough on key national issues. After the King finished delivering the speech in the House of Lords, lawmakers returned to the House of Commons, where debates immediately began over the government's agenda. Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch used the occasion to challenge several of the government's proposals, particularly on immigration, spending, and economic management. The debates are expected to continue for several days as members of parliament discuss and scrutinize the policies announced during the King's speech. Political analysts say the discussions could offer an early indication of how difficult it may be for the government to pass some of its key legislation in the months ahead. For many across Britain, the state opening of Parliament was more than just a ceremonial tradition. It marked the beginning of a new political chapter that could shape the country's direction on the economy, national security, immigration, and international relations. As Parliament resumes its work, attention will now turn to whether the government can successfully turn its promise into action while facing pressure from both the opposition and growing public expectations. This is your latest update on British politics and the reopening of Parliament.